"Fix this engine and I'll marry you." She laughed. He didn't. The words stung, sharp and cruel. But the woman who spoke them, Catherine Fairchild, the CEO of Vanguard Motors, was used to being in control. And for all her power, she didn't see what was about to happen next. A twist of fate that would turn her world upside down and the company she had built from the ground up. At Vanguard Motors, the latest cutting-edge development was a $2 million AI-powered engine that was supposed to revolutionize the automotive world. It was the company's flagship project, one that had the potential to take them global. Investors had already lined up, promises were made, and everything was riding on this launch. But there was one problem. The engine didn't work. Not at all. 6 weeks of testing, countless experts from the best universities, MIT, Stanford, Harvard, all called in to fix it, and yet the engine refused to start. When it did, it only ran for 14 minutes and 37 seconds before it overheated and shut down. The pressure was mounting. The board was losing patience. The German investors were preparing to pull out. It was a crisis no one in the company had expected, but one they feared would destroy everything they had worked for. And then Malik Carter stepped into the room. Malik wasn't an engineer. He didn't have a fancy degree from any elite school. In fact, Malik wasn't even supposed to be in the room at all. He worked as a janitor at Vanguard Motors. But he had a gift, one that no one could ignore, a near supernatural ability to understand machinery built on years of watching his grandfather, a master mechanic in Detroit, work on cars. His experience came from his hands, not textbooks. He was the quiet guy, the one who swept the floors, took out the trash, and cleaned up after the bigwigs. He wasn't part of the conversation. He wasn't supposed to be part of the solution. But Malik knew something they didn't. As the company's senior engineers argued over the engine's failure, Malik watched from the back of the room. The CEO, Catherine Fairchild, stood at the front, berating her staff for their incompetence. The tension was thick, and everyone was waiting for someone, anyone, to come up with a solution. Catherine's eyes landed on Malik. She had noticed him in passing over the months, but she didn't really see him. To her, he was just another low-level employee, a janitor who cleaned up after the geniuses. But in that moment, something in his demeanor caught her attention. "What's your name again?" she asked, her voice laced with irritation. "Malik," he answered quietly. "I don't suppose you have any idea how to fix this?" she said sarcastically. "After all, you're just the janitor." The engineers in the room snickered. They knew it was a joke. They knew Catherine was being facetious. But Malik didn't flinch. He didn't shrink back like most would. He stepped forward, his face calm, his eyes steady. "You want me to fix it?" Malik asked, his voice soft but steady. "I'll fix it." The room fell silent. Catherine's smirk deepened. "If you can fix this engine in 2 hours, I'll marry you. I'll make you the highest-paid janitor in the history of janitors. Deal?" Everyone laughed. Everyone except Malik. He didn't laugh. He didn't respond with a joke or a witty retort. He just walked toward the engine, his focus already on the task ahead. Everyone thought it was a joke. Everyone thought it was impossible. But Malik? He wasn't joking. For the next 2 hours, Malik did something that no one else had thought to do. Something that no one else had the patience, the experience, or the intuition to try. He examined the engine closely, running his fingers along the delicate components, listening to the hum of the machinery. The experts had all missed something simple, something so subtle that it had escaped the attention of the best and brightest minds in the room. But Malik had the eyes of someone who had spent years listening to the sounds of machines, who knew how things worked from the inside out. Malik quickly discovered the problem. It wasn't a design flaw. It wasn't an issue with the AI software. The problem was in the measurements. The engine was built using metric measurements, a standard used by the German manufacturers. But the AI system was programmed using imperial measurements, a standard used in the United States. The mismatch between the two systems was causing a resonance frequency misalignment, which led to overheating and ultimately shutdown. It was a small thing, an overlooked detail, but it was the key. Malik didn't panic. He didn't hesitate. He knew exactly what needed to be done. He suggested a simple harmonic damper to synchronize the engine's mechanical parts with the AI system. It was a basic fix, costing less than $20 in parts. To everyone in the room, it seemed too simple to be effective. But Malik was confident. He installed the damper in less than an hour. When he started the engine again, everyone watched with bated breath. The engine hummed to life, but this time it didn't overheat. It didn't fail after 14 minutes. It ran for 37 minutes and still didn't show any signs of trouble. The performance wasn't just stable. It was better than anyone had expected. The engineers looked at each other in shock. The investors who had been skeptical were now nodding in approval. The board members, who had been ready to fire the entire team, were suddenly smiling. But no one was more stunned than Catherine Fairchild. The woman who had publicly ridiculed Malik now stood there speechless. The German investors who had been preparing to pull out were impressed. They decided to increase their investment by 20% in light of the breakthrough. Vanguard Motors was saved. The crisis had been averted. All thanks to a janitor with no official credentials, but an incredible understanding of machines. Malik's success didn't end there. In the days that followed, the company underwent a massive shift. Catherine, once untouchable, was forced to step back as Vanguard Motors began reevaluating its corporate culture. The toxic, elitist environment that had allowed discrimination to thrive was no longer tolerated. Internal documents revealed how the engineers and senior management had ridiculed Malik, dismissing his technical expertise simply because he was a janitor. The company was forced to make changes. An internal audit was conducted, and diversity and inclusion training was mandated for all employees, especially for Catherine, who had to take a leave of absence and attend seminars on unconscious bias and leadership in diverse teams. Malik, on the other hand, was promoted, not just to a higher-paying role, but to a senior systems engineer. His contributions were finally recognized, and he was officially credited with saving the company. No longer just a janitor, he was now one of the most respected engineers at Vanguard Motors. But Malik never sought recognition. He never wanted a pat on the back. All he wanted was for people to understand that true talent doesn't come from titles, degrees, or the color of your skin. It comes from experience, from grit, and from a willingness to listen, something that Catherine Fairchild and many others had failed to do. The company's success wasn't just measured in the performance of the engine or the profits from the investors. It was in the lesson it taught, that a person's value isn't determined by their job title or their educational background, but by their ability to solve problems and make things work. As for Catherine, her story became one of cautionary reflection. Her mockery of Malik, her discrimination, had cost her more than she had ever imagined. But for Malik, it was just another day in the life, another machine fixed, another system in need of repair, and the lesson that stayed with him, the lesson that would change the company forever, was simple. Never underestimate the guy with the mop, because he just might be the one who saves your company.